It's 2017.
Chat, there's so many good, chat, stop making good videos, chat. Guys, it makes me want to watch all of them. Which one do I watch first, then? Chat, this one looks interesting.
The day before the Super Bowl, Beyonce announced she's expecting twins. Bad and Bougie hits #1 on the Billboard charts, and the whistleblowing platform WikiLeaks begins sending a series of cryptic tweets. What is Vault 7? This initial question is paired with a photograph of the global seed vault in Norway, an area that has been the target of many conspiracy theories, leaving viewers wondering what the connection is. The next day, another question is asked along with another photo, this time of a Nazi vault, used to store gold during the 1940s. This continues for 4 more days, each tweet posing another question along with another photo. An engine test at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, fake newspaper covers of famous whistleblowers, a stock image of a welder, and lastly, a photo of a woman mailing a letter, reportedly taken by East Germany's secret police during their surveillance operations. After February 9th, the tweets stop. Online posters begin trying to decipher the meaning behind these seemingly unconnected photos and that initial question. Most believed it would be a continuation of the Hillary Clinton email releases, which WikiLeaks was known for. Some think it could be connected to World Trade Center Building 7, and a few even suggest that the tweets could be the work of the cryptographic puzzle organization Cicada 3301. But it wouldn't be until almost a month later that WikiLeaks would mention Vault 7 again, this time with no warning. Vault 7 Year 0, a torrent link to a set of encrypted files accessible only with a password. That password, a John F. Kennedy quote released the following morning, unveiled 8,761 files on hacking and surveillance techniques developed and used by the CIA, making this the largest leak of classified intelligence documents in history.
Criminal investigation is underway in the
Jack,
US.
does anything really come from that?
8,000 documents that details
the CIA's technical capability to carry out hacking.
Would like to thank the CIA for their gift of a brand new smart television.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange criticized the CIA for keeping the data in one place, calling it incompetent.
Is it clear to you, Michael, that this was an inside job?
Absolutely. This has to be an inside job.
You can surveil someone through their phones, through their television sets, and microwaves that turn into cameras, etc.
Right. Did that happen though or not? Chat, I always thought this, chat. In order for when your camera activates, it does something, right? It takes power that draws from your computer, right? There's a spike or rise of power usage, and then to upload it, there's a spike in internet usage. Is that gonna trackable? Did that actually happen to anybody where their shit was used?
Your phone number.
It's a good amount. It's a good amount.
Email address, social media accounts, family members, and court records. All these personal, private details are scattered across the internet, accessible to anybody curious enough to look. This information is being traded right now by entities known as data brokers. They're not some shadowy figures from a spy thriller. They're legitimate businesses making a profit off your private lives.
Is this an ad, really?
Thank you to delete me. Somewhere in the suburbs of Northern Virginia, there's an office building that looks like any other office building, except this one has fences fit for a prison and guards who are equipped for a full-scale firefight. Just to get in requires a security check and a key card, because this building houses the Cyber Intelligence Division of the CIA. On the 9th floor, to another door that requires badge access, lies the Operations Support Branch for this Cyber Intelligence Division. The OSB is considered the CIA's hacker unit and only employs around a dozen people. It is in this office, on this private network, not connected to the internet, that the Vault 7 tools were developed and maintained, meaning that this leak came from this room. 20 minutes after WikiLeaks tweets the password to those encrypted files, it announces that the planned press conference from WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has been put on hold since his video streams are being hit offline. Within hours, news outlets such as The Guardian, Wired, and the New York Times begin reporting on the release, and researchers around the globe begin diving into the extensive documentation. But we still haven't answered that initial question. What exactly is Vault 7? The series of releases published from March to November, alleged that the US consulate in Frankfurt, Germany, is a covert CIA hacking base used to attack targets in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Revealed that the CIA has a practice of stealing malware from foreign states such as Russia and using these in attacks to leave behind the digital fingerprint of the groups the attack techniques are stolen from, essentially framing others for their operations. And detailed how the CIA hoarded zero-day vulnerabilities. The agency not only stockpiled these, but also purchased them from private entities without disclosing the vulnerabilities to the software manufacturer. Now, none of this is particularly surprising or unique. It's a fair assumption that every nation
we've seen videos about this before.
Robust intelligence network probably engages in similar activities. Countries like Russia, China, Israel, and North Korea have well-documented histories of cyber espionage and cyber warfare. But the real highlight of the release were the tools developed by the CIA from 2008 to 2016 for conducting these attacks. Some of these tools include Hive, Scribbles, Fine Dining, Sonic Screwdriver, Night Skies, and Weeping Angel. Hive was a command and control framework used to manage malware implants on compromised systems. A command and control framework allows an attacker, or in this case the CIA, to essentially communicate and send commands to malware they've implanted on a system. Hive allowed the CIA to do all of this through websites that appeared ordinary. To anybody who came across the connection, it would appear to just be a normal link to maybe a software website, when the underlying traffic would actually be extracting sensitive information from the targeted devices back to the CIA servers. Scribbles, dubbed the Snowden Stopper, is a tool that embedded web beacon tags into confidential documents.
This is complicated, chat. Guys, I'm losing my mind.
The purpose of this is to track access by whistleblowers and foreign spies. It would generate invisible, unique watermarks for Microsoft Office documents, which, when opened, sent information back to the CIA about the viewer. Fine Dining, a collection of malware-laced applications that were disguised as legitimate programs. Agents could use these apps, stored on a USB drive, to infect the target's computer while appearing to just run normal software. The list of decoy apps include VLC, Google Chrome, Opera, and Firefox, LibreOffice, Prezi, Skype, 7-Zip, the game 2048, and even some antivirus software. Sonic Screwdriver was a tool that manipulated the firmware of Apple's Thunderbolt to Ethernet adapters, making them store and execute malicious code during a max boot process. This means it would bypass security mechanisms like firmware passwords, taking control of the system before the operating system even loads. And because the attacks target the low-level firmware of the computer, the malicious code would persist even after the operating system is completely reinstalled.
Battlefield?
Continuing with the Apple attacks, Night Skies works like a basic command and control system, but it can also uniquely embed itself into the iTunes
card
application.
game.
This allows the CIA to monitor and control not just the Mac, but also any iPhone that's synced with it. And most famously, Weeping Angel. Weeping Angel was a software suite developed in partnership with Britain's MI5 that would allow Samsung TVs to be turned into listening devices, even when they appeared to be turned off. This fake off mode would allow the TV to secretly record conversations, store and exfiltrate audio without
this is something that I can get behind, chat, and actually believe. I don't know why. Because of how fucking laggy the TVs are, man. Even the most advanced TVs back in the days would fucking lag like shit.
Knowledge,
it's so bad.
Turning your TV into a listening device. Now these tools are just a handful of the entire collection. There are dozens of others such as Fight Club and Ricky Bobby that are a little less unique. The Vault 7 release also contains some mostly irrelevant but interesting notes, such as one CIA employee recommending their colleagues read Reddit to stay up to date on information, a how-to guide on remaining undercover while overseas, an entire page of Japanese emojis, and documents suggesting that the CIA was exploring ways to infect the control systems used by modern internet-connected vehicles. The purpose of this wasn't explicitly stated, but it would permit the CIA to engage in nearly undetectable assassinations, according to WikiLeaks. The day after the leak, the CIA releases a statement saying the American public should be deeply troubled by any disclosure designed to damage the intelligent community's ability to protect America, insisted that they do not target US citizens, and said its activities comply fully with the US law and the Constitution. Julian Assange finally manages to conduct a live press conference where he vets questions from media outlets, and a few days later, former CIA Deputy Director Mike Morrell says the information released by WikiLeaks was on the CIA's top secret network. So
this has to be an inside job.
President Trump, who had previously benefited from WikiLeaks' release of Hillary Clinton's emails, was now in an awkward position. When he was running for office, he said,
"They want to distract us from WikiLeaks. It's been amazing what's coming out on WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks, I love WikiLeaks.
But now he was more,
I know nothing about WikiLeaks. It's not my thing. I know nothing really about them. It's not my deal in life.
In fact, it was this leak that led CIA Director Mike Pompeo and other Trump administration officials to allegedly plan the kidnapping and assassination of Julian Assange. But now that we've answered what Vault 7 is, now comes the question of why. Why did whoever have access to these files feel the need to give them to WikiLeaks, or more importantly, feel the need to make this information public? When news outlets began picking up the release, little by little this misconception emerged that the tool Weeping Angel was used to spy on millions of Americans. This still persists even today, but it's not true, and the reason for that is simple. The vast majority of tools leaked in Vault 7 are designed in a way that requires physical access to the target devices at least once. They reflect the needs of CIA agents in the field, working with target devices directly, looking to gather specific information. The only real way this could be used to spy on the masses would be to infect the Samsung devices at the place they're manufactured, or sometime before they arrive at the store you buy one at. While this is certainly possible, and it's believed that this is the way they infected the iPhones of specific targets, doing this on a massive scale is unlikely and mostly a theory created by people who simply don't understand what these tools are capable of. Unlike the Snowden leaks, these tools weren't used to spy on millions of everyday citizens, so outside of understanding what's possible by people looking to target you, there's no real tangible benefit American citizens get from having this information public. On September 11th, just hours after the towers went down, a senator from Utah told reporters that the CIA had intercepted a phone call between bin Laden associates discussing the attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. While American citizens might have been glad to hear that, that upset the White House because it tipped off the terrorists that the US government had been spying on them and the methods they used to do so, which in turn burnt that method. Whoever leaked Vault 7 intentionally hindered national security efforts and did so knowing that it could potentially stop operations that were aimed at protecting the public. And they did that with very little actual benefit. So why do it? What was the real motive?
Because dude, the people must know, dude, the public has to have transparency, dude. I think that's so brain dead. Sorry, bro, I've always thought it was so brain dead.
6 days after WikiLeaks publishes Vault 7, federal agents raid the apartment of Bloomberg software engineer Joshua.
There is some things that the people should know, and it's perfectly fine that they don't know. It's perfectly fine. Okay, there's a lot of systems out there they don't know about that keep people safe, right? Other things running in the background, okay? And your knowledge is like, and even if you had the knowledge, you wouldn't be able to interpret it exactly like that. People misinterpreted the data and even know what to do with it.
Was Schultz. In his apartment, they find a treasure trove of electronic devices and digital media. But here's the thing. The FBI doesn't want to tip off Schultz, who's currently at work, that he's under surveillance as their prime suspect. So instead of confiscating or copying anything off his devices, they simply take photos of his apartment and leave. 2 days later, at 120 Park Avenue in Manhattan, Schultz clocks out of work and starts making his way back home. But as soon as he leaves the building, he's greeted by 2 FBI agents that introduce themselves and invite him to chat. Schultz is well aware of the ongoing investigation and agrees to cooperate, so they head to a cafe not far from the building. Little does he know, as he sits down to talk about the Vault 7 leaks, a quarter mile down the road, a team of FBI agents are stationed outside his apartment, ready to conduct a full-scale raid. In 2011, fresh out of college and an NSA internship, Schultz began working for the agency as an engineer in the Operations Support Branch. In 2015, he was even made an administrator for the CIA's private developer network known as DevLAN, which gave him the power to control access to the network and therefore access to the tools leaked in Vault 7. Despite the serious nature of the branch's work, building tools for CIA agents that were literally used in life or death situations, the OSB was run more like a tech startup, a little more laid back than what you're probably picturing. They used pop culture references for official CIA tools like Ricky Bobby, gave each other office nicknames like Dick Move, and even had full-scale Nerf gun firefights in the office. Schultz, who was described by his co-workers as opinionated and a little rough around the edges, seemed to thrive in this environment. However, things changed sometime in 2015. When a new hire known as Amal decided he wasn't as comfortable with the atmosphere. Amal was a little more professional, didn't seem to like Schultz or the Nerf gun firefights, and even nicknamed Schultz Bald Asshole. In October of 2015, Amal began complaining to an OSB supervisor that Schultz was childish and dangerous. In response, Schultz called Amal derogatory and abusive, saying Amal had told him, "I wish you would die in a fiery car crash. I want to piss on your grave." Schultz noted that words like that do little to foster collaboration. It wouldn't end there though. In March of 2016, Schultz filed an official formal complaint.
I disagree. Whatever. Moving on.
With CIA officials after Amal reportedly told him, "I wish you were dead. That's not a threat, that's a promise." Schultz said he believed that this was a serious death.
Enemies are more prone to be good friends than friends in the first place. Hold on. It can create a stronger bond. It can just strong. That's just guys. It's human nature. You know, it's human nature. Guys, if you don't like somebody, you start on a bad foot, and you kind of heal through that, right? And it can create a strong. Guys, that's why I say
threat, and that he feared for
the
his
rope
life.
story.
The CIA security official in charge responded to the complaint by saying he couldn't play high school counselor.
Yeah? The fuck is wrong with you two?
This response made Schultz angry. He felt that the CIA wasn't taking his death threat seriously enough. So he decided to go higher up the ladder and complain to the director of cyber intelligence. After a pointless meeting, Bonnie decides the boys need to be separated. So she orders them both to new desks far away from each other. He then complains about the desk he's moved to and says Amal has been assigned to a better desk. At this point, Schultz is furious. Whatever his goal was, he's clearly not getting it. So instead of trying to work within the agency's guidelines, Schultz goes down to the Virginia State Courthouse and gets a restraining order against his CIA co-worker, Amal. The CIA goes in full damage control and activates something known as the Threat Management Unit, because now this internal issue was being played out in open court, which for the CIA is unprecedented. So the CIA decides to move both Schultz and Amal to two separate branches altogether. Schultz responds by threatening to go public, saying he could reach out to the media and have an article written titled, "CIA Punishes Employee for Reporting Office Death Threats." Regardless, Schultz tries to make the best of his situation, and after relocating down to the 8th floor, Schultz tries to continue work on one of the tools he had developed, known as Brutal Kangaroo, only to find that his access had been revoked due to his branch change. Senior officials at the CIA had allowed him to copy the Brutal Kangaroo tool for his own use. Schultz instead took control of the original tool and removed access by all other OSB members. This led to him being stripped of his network administrator access, and on November 10th, 2016, he officially resigned from the CIA. But was this really enough to leak all the CIA tools? Was the so-called Patriot so upset that he would expose some of the most sensitive secrets of his own country? As the agents began to interview Schultz, these questions lingered. According to the agents, during the interview, he downplayed the severity of the leak, saying
what
the
a mental boom
didn't contain any source code, so it wasn't too severe. Said he couldn't imagine anybody from his former office giving that information to WikiLeaks, and suggested the agents look for spikes of activity in the network, which would indicate copying of documents. He also informed them that earlier that day, during his lunch break, he went home and printed out travel documents and grabbed his diplomatic CIA-issued passport because he was coincidentally planning to fly down to Mexico with his brother. He was supposed to return his passport once he resigned from the agency, but never did. As the interview wrapped up, the agents presented Schultz with a subpoena and a search warrant. They seized his cell phone, and they all head back to Schultz's apartment, a block away, to begin conducting the full-scale search.
And then?
In the weeks following the raid, the FBI begins examining Schultz's personal devices, which were all now in their possession. While reviewing his desktop computer, FBI agents come across an encrypted directory. The directory is around 54 gigabytes in size. Due to the directory being encrypted, the agents aren't sure what exactly is inside, but they have an idea. On Schultz's personal cell phone, which is now in their possession, there's a notes app with a bunch of random passwords and plain text. One of them unlocks the container and reveals 50 gigabytes of illegal pornography involving minors. They also managed to find some IRC chat logs discussing the downloading and storing of this material, and find a photograph on Schultz's cell phone of him sexually assaulting a passed out woman. In August, Schultz is woken up by a dozen federal agents banging on his apartment door, who arrest him on sex crime charges. They had not yet indicted him on anything related to the Vault 7 releases. When he hears that the government is trying to keep him in custody, he objects and says the crime I am charged with is in fact a non-violent, victimless crime. As Schultz sits in the Manhattan jail waiting for trial, a block away, FBI agents working out of the Manhattan field office need to collect the Vault 7 release for their investigation.
Chat, this guy sounds a little bit like a like one of those like off the hinges 4chan user or whatever. Not the normal 4chan user base. Like one of those like radicalized like moron.
Investigation, but there's a problem. The documents leaked are still classified.
Well, is it really a crime if nobody saw it though? But think about it though. Nobody saw it though. Is it a crime?
Even though they're publicly available. FBI agents tasked with collecting the WikiLeaks release head down to a local Best Buy, purchase a brand new laptop, and then go to a Starbucks to use their free public Wi-Fi to download the entirety of the classified CIA documents. In May 2018, news finally breaks on Joshua Schultz's arrest. But he's still not indicted on anything related to the Vault 7 release, with the New York Times headlining him as a suspect, pretty much immediately. Online posters, WikiLeaks advocates, and just general skeptics begin picking apart the allegations against him by the FBI regarding the child abuse material. Like the old Chappelle bit, just sprinkle some crack on him. It's like, just sprinkle some I hate you like I'm young allegations on him. Get the public to hate him from the jump, so he doesn't turn into some whistleblowing hero. It's a compelling theory, or at least it would be if Joshua Schultz wasn't also a bit of a fucking idiot. Instead of playing into this obvious theory many would believe, Schultz's defense for having this material on his computer was that he ran a server in college that was essentially open to all of his friends, and he simply didn't know what files other users had uploaded on it. The next month, the
Sure. But then, wait, but then he has that on his computer? Okay, guys, didn't they pull that from an encrypted file or whatever? I mean,
what files other users had uploaded.
Why would that one directory be encrypted?
The next month,
it's the one that has that on its
on WikiLeaks releases, with 10 new charges ranging from illegal gathering of national defense information and theft of government property to obstruction of justice and making false statements. With the trial for these charges commencing.
I didn't read it. I'll open the link. Alright, hold up. Already. Other open it. I'm gonna try it.
New charge, obstruction of justice, and making false statements. With the trial for these charges commencing in early 2020. In the meantime, Schultz had gotten quite used to prison. He had found a way to hotwire the light switch in his cell to act as a cell phone charger, gotten a contraband cell phone, and created social media accounts dedicated to proving his innocence. He sent journalists classified information pretending to be other people, and even reached out to WikiLeaks to publish 25 pages of his prison ramblings, which consisted of him saying he was going to bring down the justice system, crying about house arrest, and making fun of people who pretended to be Muslim or Jewish in jail to get better food. He later converted to Islam. Things seemed to be working out okay for Schultz, until October, when 50 FBI agents and a cell phone sniffing dog raid the jail, take his cell phone, and throw his ass in solitary confinement. Schultz would later tell a judge he was being tortured in jail, claiming the officials at the jail subjected him to cruel and unusual punishment, and wrote, "Terrorists receive better treatment in Guantanamo Bay. I have seen the footage myself." Schultz would stay in solitary confinement well into his 2020 trial. At the trial, the prosecution provided evidence that after being stripped of his administrative privileges due to the kangaroo incident, Schultz still kept a secret back door to the OSB network. And on April 20th, 2016, Schultz accessed that back door using the password KingJosh3000. While logged in, he accessed one specific backup, the March 3rd, 2016 backup of the OSB tools. He then attempted to scrub his log files and restore the network. As it turns out, the Vault 7 release on WikiLeaks to this day is a perfect match to that March 3rd backup. But despite this, and some more circumstantial evidence, Schultz was only convicted on 2 counts, contempt of court and making false statements to the FBI. The reason for this seems to be that Schultz's defense attorney did a great job at sowing doubt in the government's case, and also that the technicalities of the entire case were fucking confusing, especially to random jurors who might not even own a computer. So the judge declared a mistrial with the retrial scheduled for 2022. In the meantime, Schultz decided he could defend himself. So he fired the defense attorney that managed to get him a hung jury and began spending the next 2 years learning how to properly defend himself in court.
Yo?
He was convicted on all charges. During his sentencing, he allegedly ranted for 29 minutes, calling the jail he was housed in New York's own Auschwitz, and comparing himself to Nelson Mandela. He was sentenced to 40 years in prison. When news about Schultz first started hitting the media, Patrick Keefe from The New Yorker talked to a couple of his former classmates, and what he found was that Schultz had a history of being incredibly edgy and sexually deviant, always touching people when asked not to, and would even go as far as to draw swastikas in Jewish students' yearbooks, not because he was an actual Nazi or racist, but really just because he liked pissing people off. It's hard to imagine that the most powerful intelligence agency in history didn't know about this, or knew about it, and still hired this guy. The CIA may have never even realized that these tools were stolen if WikiLeaks hadn't publicly released them. If all it takes is one rogue operative with a history of problematic behavior
So a cringe
to
lord very much.
dismantle their entire system. How secure is national security really?
Chat, that started really slow, but I actually enjoyed that video. I think it was really good.